This is actually fun because a lot of these things, I mean, the Exodus podcast has been around for over 300 episodes, I think since 2018. So like we've been doing this for 5 years now.
Yeah.
And so back then, like this, especially some of these clips with Don Higgins before they had a podcast and before he had been on a bunch of podcasts, like a lot of this, whether people will admit it, and maybe I'm taking more credit than what we deserve, a lot of these principles that are just second nature now
transpired right here, brother.
A little investigative journalism here. All right, we brought the information, and now it is all in your subconscious. So this is another clip of that.
The other thing I noticed that I wrote about in 2015, that the title of the article was "Homecoming Bucks," and what I noticed is that these bucks that shift their range in the fall, they have a definite summer range, and then they have a different fall-winter range. And what I noticed is that these bucks that shift their range at the very beginning of the rut, they will a lot of times make a journey back to where they summered. Or at the very tail end of the rut, they'll make a journey back to where they summered. And my theory is that these bucks relocate early in the fall. They've got their home range. They stay there. As the rut starts to heat up, they can't find a hot doe at home, and they're really anxious to get that first hot doe. So they get so anxious, they run back home to where they spent the summer, and they look for it there. I mean, I've got example after example, and I was showing some of those in my seminar that I did here earlier today, that these bucks, it's around, say, November 5th to about the 7th or so, right before them does are coming in heat. I see these bucks, these mature bucks that have relocated, run back to where they spent their summer. And then right at the last 3 or 4 days of November, the first 2 or 3 days of December, they'll do the same thing. Sometimes the same buck will do both. A lot of times I don't catch them both doing it early and late, and I think a lot of it is just tied to whether they can find a hot doe at home or not. If they can, they stay there, but if not, they run back to where they spent their summer.
You've made mention in the past between the 5th and the 12th is arguably here in the Midwest, we're in Illinois, peak activity for bucks. Daylight activity, would you agree or disagree?
That 7-day period is probably the period where you're going to see the most buck activity. Mm-hmm. If you wanted to narrow it down to mature bucks, when you start getting to the end of that period, the 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, a lot of those mature bucks are going to be locked down with does, and they're going to be really tough. Early in that period is going to be fantastic for those bigger bucks. More booners are killed November 7th and 8th than any other dates. So, and the reason for it is the does, for the most part, aren't quite in heat yet. And the bucks have worked themselves into a fever pitch. They're covering some territory trying to find that first doe in heat. And once they find her, they become a whole lot more difficult to kill. Mm-hmm. But if you can find him when he's still on that search, he's on his feet more, and he's on his feet more in daylight. So it just increases your odds of success.
What is the best day in the month of November to kill a giant buck?
If I had to boil it down to one day, without a doubt, it would be November 7th.
I mean, Don's such an incredible whitetail hunter. Like, when you think of the grand scheme of things and everybody where they are in their journey with kind of the household names per se, Don is just completely on another level, targeting individual, very specific bucks, and he has his plan laid out years in advance.
Crazy.
It is the amount of work in detail that he puts in to killing a specific deer. I'm going to go out on a limb and say it's relatively unmatched. I mean, I'm sure there's a couple guys out there that we don't know that are going through that same process, but there's not very many people in the United States doing what Don does. And it's just, his portfolio, his track record over the last handful of years speaks for itself. I mean, it's just phenomenal.
It really is. And actually, we're recording this on October 26th before I head to Iowa. Last night, he actually shot his number 1 buck.
There you go.
and that's another thing, too. It seems like some of these last really big deer he shot have been in the later part of October, when it used to be this time frame of November.
So I'm going to back up a little bit. I talked to Don last week. It was the beginning of last week, and he had seen that deer the day before. And when he seen him, I can't remember the exact situation, but the deer was moving away from him. And his exact words were, "I'll kill him in the next 2 sits." That's what he said.
So there you go. You can call your shot. Can you just imagine? Obviously, it's one of those deals where you can't fake 40 years of experience. Can you just imagine 40 years from now, 30 years from now, when you have that much conviction of just, it's almost matter of fact. It's not like what if or I hope. It's just,
Yeah.
his days are numbers. Like it's that simple. It's that simple with the utmost calmness of just.
I would not want to be a big deer in any of the areas Don can hunt. Your days are numbered.
It's going to end with an arrow in your lungs. For sure. All right. So this is rolling into Ryan Springer. Ryan's a very fun guy. Another person that I'm privileged to have met through Exodus. And he's I think a lot of people get these perceptions of you're just a rut hunter. You kill a lot of 3 and 4 year olds. That's kind of what people's short circuited brain comes to. Like, oh, you killed a nice deer on the 7th or 8th, probably was a 3 or 4 year old.
Yeah, they discount it.
Exactly. But Ryan Springer likes hunting the rut, and he has some very specific tactics, and he kills really big, mature deer during this time period too. So that's why we brought this clip in, because don't discount this. There's opportunity if you're trying to target a mature buck. They're still ready, and they're still running around, and there's still that margin of error is increased. So here is what he has to say. It might not be groundbreaking, but it's what you need to hear.
Bottom line is, I'm in a tree daylight to dark. You have to put the time in. It's a matter of probability, right? Being able to hunt more hours of the day just gets you more opportunity, right? Now, where to go and where you're going to spend that day, all those things come up. We can discuss those, but generally speaking, hunt as many hours as you can. When you have the opportunity, sit in a tree and eat, do your business, you do what you got to do up there, definitely don't go to the truck. That's the way I look at it. It never fails, and I'm not going to take that chance. It's not worth it to me. I'm just going to stay in a tree.
Where are you switching stands midday at all? Or are you're posted up in a pinch all day, playing the odds?
Yeah. When I'm trying to focus on, let's say, the peak of the rut, right? Because that's what this conversation's about. I'm going to be hunting close to a doe group. The zone in my mind right now that I'm thinking, I know that the deer bed within 150 yards of me. There's a good bedding area on a south facing slope. It's covered in, bush honeysuckle or multiflora rose, or, it's just thick and nasty. The deer go up in there. I don't ever go up in there. Right. And I'm just on the west facing slope around the corner of it, just kind of waiting on them. They have a tendency to travel from that zone down a little ridge, that comes essentially right past where I'm set up. So I'm just going to spend the time in there. Those deer are constantly moving, checking these doe groups, throughout the day. So I'm just going to stay there. I'm on a great access point, a pinch, and a lot of it too is knowing your land. You can go into a new zone and get an idea, and start seeing the sign and kind of reading it. But over the years, kind of honing in on really understanding how that property works, it makes a world of difference. It really does.
So, and then in the evening, are you still posted up in that pitch point? Or are you trying to relocate to a food source, or tell me a little bit about that?
Right. Generally, as long as I'm close to the direction of travel that I think the does are going to go that evening, right, I'm going to stay put. Mm-hmm. If they're going to turn and go a different way, I wouldn't be opposed to picking up and moving. Some of the spots I hunt, I'll know where the doe groups come through in the morning. I mean, there's one ridge, they'll feed on the acorns. They'll come right up the ridge, go to bed. But then sometimes in the evenings, they'll go another way, out towards the cornfield access. That's where I may slip around, and hunt a spot like that. If I'm in a spot that I think they're going to come right back through, I'm just sitting tight.
Mm-hmm. So you're kind of just using the doe group as live decoy or live bait in some form or fashion.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's, that's what they're after. That's what I'm after, stick with the does, that's what I want to see when I'm getting pictures of does all summer in my spots and no bucks. I'm okay with that. In fact, that's the spot I like, right? Because I've got the does. This zone is the doe group, and the bucks will come. So that's, I'm okay with that. I really do focus on the does.
So there it is, November 6th through the 11th. Awesome time. And some of my favorite, like the 10th is an awesome day. The 11th is the awesome day. And obviously the 7th, like it's just, when you hunt dark to dark during the 6th through 11th, it kind of feels like a long time. But when it's over, it's like, wow, that went super fast.
Yeah, I was going to make the same exact point. It's like November 10th, November 11th. You're getting to the point where Maybe you've hunted a stretch of
Fatigue is a
all day
factor.
sits.
Yeah.
It starts the fatigue, the mental fatigue starts to creep in. And this is when your attitude has to be on point. This is when you
Yep.
have to stay disciplined. This is when the core circle of guys around you can make a difference, man.
Agreed. Yeah. And that's so important because, positivity can be contagious and pessimism can be contagious. And so you got to be surrounded by people that are, hey, dude, yesterday sucked, but tomorrow's
Yeah.
going to be better. It's
Yeah.
that simple.
Yeah. And be that guy for somebody else, man.
Absolutely.
Like the text that you mentioned from Jason Michael, like be that person for somebody else.
Absolutely. Yeah. That's the challenge right here. Text 3 of your hunting friends and say, hey, dude, today's your day. Go out there and get it. Seize the day. Make it happen.